got some breaking news out of Kansas City. Chiefs dynamic wideout Tyreek Hill is expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks with the collarbone injury he suffered Sunday against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The team does not plan to put Hill on IR. So, Nick, how do you think this injury impacts the Chiefs' offense?
Well, I think Tyreek Hill is, other than Patrick Mahomes, obviously, the most important singular player on the offense. But if what we saw on Sunday against Jacksonville is any indication, they're going to be just fine for the next 4 to 6 weeks, particularly if Sammy Watkins is anywhere close to the Sammy Watkins that we saw on Sunday. Now, I don't think he's going to have 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, probably again all year. But the amount of speed they can put out on the field, even without Tyreek Hill, with Sammy Watkins, with McCole Hardman, who, keep in mind, they drafted as a Tyreek Hill replacement when they thought Tyreek might be suspended for part of, if not the whole season. I think they're going to be just fine in the short term, even though he and Patrick Mahomes are the most dynamic, deep threat quarterback wide receiver combo we have in the league.
Yeah, that's probably, if you look at their offense, what's the player best being injured? I wouldn't want Sammy Watkins because his overall confidence would kill him. Travis Kelce would affect the offense. So if there is a guy in Tyreek Hill, he's the most explosive wide receiver we have in the game, I would prefer it be him. And the reason why, we have the young kid on the shelf who can replace some of his running ability. But there's 2 things he can't replace. He can't replace him as a punt returner. He is one of one. I have never seen anyone as fast and as explosive as he is returning kicks. And he doesn't know the offense. This is Andy Reid's offense. This is a complicated offense. He can't line up in all 4 wide receiver spots. So that productivity from Tyreek Hill, you have to say, okay, Sammy Watkins, I want you to take over some of the receiving. Sammy Watkins going to come down to earth, too, because we talked about A.B., Juju Smith-Schuster. Yeah. He getting ready to get that #1 attention because in game #1, they didn't have the offseason that Jalen Ramsey could have said, you know something? I'm going to shut down Sammy Watkins. Y'all contain the rest of them. Yeah. No, when you get into a game, it's hard for teams to change their point of emphasis after weeks and months, especially being the first game. Oh, how do I adjust? So Sammy Watkins, I'm going to say this. He surprised Jacksonville. They were not expecting that version of Sammy Watkins, so just expect a little bit of an adjustment. But the overall run productivity, it can be replaced because the skill set of the rookie is very, very similar to Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, but remember, Tyreek Hill didn't start off in that place. He had to develop into that. And what happens is they're going to have to try and find a unique role for him. You can't try and replace the productivity and the skill set of Tyreek Hill just because they're both fast, both because they're better short doesn't mean that, okay, just insert player and you're going to get the same productivity. And now teams are going to just say, you know what, let's jam Sammy Watkins because he has struggled getting off the ball. He's a different, taller receiver. So now guys were off because now you know you're on man-to-man and you don't have safety help because you're rolling coverage to Tyreek Hill, and you're using the extra resources on your safeties, on Kelce, because you know your linebackers can't go. So now if I'm a defender, I'm licking my chops because now I know, okay, we can stop Sammy with our best corner. We don't have to put our #2 corner over there and put the safety over there and then put our #1 guy on the other guy. Now we can just go and we can get in the game plan. So now he's going to get that smoke, and does that affect his confidence? And really, when I look at it now, let's look at the schedule. They're going to have the Ravens, the Colts, and the Texans. Those are going to be tough games because they're equally, and I'm not really all bought in on this Chiefs upgraded defense yet. I know Spagnola's there, but you don't know. I want to see them tested a little bit more.
Spagnola's put some bad defense on the field. Recently.
Well, but they supposed to upgrade it. Frank Clark and all that.
6 new starters.
Right. So we'll see what that's all about. But they're going to be tested against the Ravens and that dynamic offense. They're going to be tested against the Colts. They're going to be tested against the Texans. Can they withstand that? They may lose a couple of those games because they don't have the threat of Tyreek Hill.
Well, I'm not as worried about the Colts and Texans, but in the next 6 weeks, they play, you mentioned Baltimore, and they go to Denver. Last year, the 2 games where the Chiefs' offense was held in check the most was a home game against Baltimore, which is what they have after this week, the game that was saved by a Patrick Mahomes to Tyreek Hill 4th and 9 late in the game when the Chiefs were drawing dead, and that road game on national television against Denver when Mahomes saved it with the left-handed pass.
You're not concerned with those Texans? That offense is explosive, so they can go throw for throw because it's not about who has the best offense, it's about who has the worst defense.
Anytime you play against an explosive offense, you should be concerned because the recipe to beating Kansas City is keep the ball away from them.
Right.
And if you can see 10 out of their last 20 games, well, in 10 of their last 18 games, they've given up over 400 yards. So for me, at some point, I need to be able to see some type of defense before I just keep making these excuses. They got 6 new starters. They got a new defensive coordinator. Well, but if I keep getting the same results, so I'm going to wait. Yep. I'm going to wait to see.
Okay, well, 2 things. One is it's been 1 week of the season, so it's not at some point. It's not like we've been talking about this for months. They've played 1 game this year under the new.
Yeah, but it's just like the Browns. What were you concerned about the Browns before the season? Their offensive line, and then they play back.
Absolutely.
Well, they lost Greg Robinson.
Hold on a second. But
that's equivalent.
300 pounds.
That's equivalent to doing a windmill.
Go ahead.
Come on, man. Be a man.
I want to make sure you understand what I was saying when I said I'm not worried about Indy or Houston. We're talking about the Chiefs in the context of their offense, the loss of Tyreek Hill. Even without Tyreek Hill, I think the offense is going to put up 35+ against Indy and Houston. Concerns about the defense against every team in the league until proven otherwise. The point I was making about Baltimore and Denver is we saw the Chiefs offense, which is mostly the same as last year, even with Tyreek Hill, struggle to put up points and yards against Baltimore at home and at Denver. In this stretch where they're supposed to miss Tyreek Hill, they play Baltimore at home and they go to Denver. Those are the 2 games his absence could be the most damaging. The defense struggling against anybody is almost absent of Tyreek Hill.
What I'm trying to tell people about Kansas City, they're not going to lose because of their offense.
Right.
All right. I was on a team like Kansas City. Man, me and Moss used to make bets before the game. Man, how many we going to get today? I said, man, at least 30. How many touchdowns you going to score? We used to bet. Moss was like, okay, I'm going to give you, I think I can get 1, but I'm only going, if I can score over 50 yards. So I've had that type of confidence. Yeah. But what ended up happening?
Give up 45.
We played Tampa Bay, and they give it to Mike Allstott, and that clock is going tick, 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 tick. So it's not New England 43 minutes. So we can keep talking about their offense as much as they want to.
Right.
How they going to lose? Keep the ball away from them. So any team that can have some ball control, their offense don't have to be explosive, but I can keep that ball away from you. And Patty Mahomes, that tick, 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 that's an opposition for them this year is the clock.
Keep away. Right, you limit the possessions. You take the air out of the game, and it forces you to make sure that you score on those possessions. You have 1 turnover, and the game flops, and then you go down by 2 scores. Game over.
But does this mean maybe Shady McCoy's role changes just a little bit? Do we see a little bit more of him?
Well, I'm high on Shady McCoy.
Yeah.
He's a phenomenal football player who's in a system that fits him. Andy Reid is not getting ready to hand it to Shady McCoy between the tackles and say, hey, big fella, go in there and make something happen. No, he's going to put him in space. He's going to put him with linebackers. This is the best offense that Shady's ever been on. Man, all he's got to play is 15 to 20 plays a game, matched up against linebackers in space. Then I do all these things with these wide receivers, hit him on an inside zone with Patty Mahomes. This is a dangerous offense. Shady McCoy decided to go to a perfect spot for him. So now Tyreek Hill, week number 2, I look for Shady McCoy to continue and Andy Reid to build on the number of plays he played in week number 1, Bart.
And you want to get him touches, right? You want to get Shady out in space. You want to get him screens. You want to get him screens, draws. And the misconception about Shady is he can't run in between the tackles. He runs in between the tackles, but as soon as he breaks the second level, he's going to bounce it and get those long yards.
One point, though. You said that this is a team where if you have a defense like this, if you get down 2 scores, game over. That's flatly not the case. The Chiefs last year weren't down 2 scores often, but in the Patriot game, they're down 2 scores at halftime both times, took the lead in both of those games. If they were built the opposite, if you're a team where you have to hold a team to 17 to win, you can get down 10 and feel like you're drawing dead. The Chiefs last year, and offensively they are very similar, could be down 14, 15 points as they were against the Super Bowl champs, and the offense can come back because your point on the turnover, while bad defense, we don't know how much that has changed. You are also 1 turnover being forced away from getting back-to-back possessions. And if you score every time you have the ball, you can be right back in the game.
Yeah, they're not like a typical explosive offense because they have such big play capability. They can have 3 plays and have a touchdown, and next thing you know, you're back out there. You get 3 out and get the ball back. It's totally opposite of everything you've experienced. Everything you experienced, defense, we getting ready to win this. Everything I've experienced has been offense is going to win this. But being on those offensive teams, I realized when that team had the ball, regardless of what kind of respect you gave them, tick, 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 man, that clock, we're fighting against the clock. every single game because we don't have the help of a defense.
All right, Bart, thanks so much for joining us.
job,
Take a break. Coming up, Pro Bowl wide receiver.
Cheese on that taco. This ain't a Richard Mueller, but it's something.
Richard Mueller. Mueller. Richard
No, I like
Mueller.
saying Mueller.